Hello again, I am Blunty. Earlier this year, when they first announced the details about the controller for the PlayStation 5, I made a video full of worries, hopes, complaints, criticisms about it. And of course the fanboys reacted like fanboys do, and now that the PlayStation 5 is out in the wild, I've had a few people come to that video going, oh, this video aged like milk. Oh, you were wrong about it. They didn't actually watch the video. They just assumed what I was going to say based on the title of the video, which was a relatively negative thing. But if they had watched the video, they would have seen the video actually aged quite well, because a lot of things I said about it still hold true. I do not have a PlayStation 5 yet. What I do have, though, is a brand new DualSense controller to try out, and Steam Beta actually has support for this controller, so I can actually use it to play games. It doesn't have control, or doesn't have the ability to use the the fancy force feedback trigger thing, whatever they call it. I forget what they called it. Whatever they called it, it's force feedback. We've had that before in steering wheels and things like that. It's nothing particularly new, except we've never seen it in triggers before. And a lot of people are praising it. It's a little bit gimmicky, but gimmicky doesn't have to be bad. Nintendo have made quite a good living on gimmicks. So, let's have a first impressions. Let's unbox this thing, see how it feels on my hand, then use it in some games, then test out that microphone I was very critical of, and see where we stand on first impressions' sake when it comes to using this thing for PC gaming. I would also appreciate on our journey through this video if you would consider subscribing. If you are already subscribed, make sure you ring that bell, because the YouTube algorithm has been particularly nasty to me over the last couple of weeks. It's been a friggin' nightmare working quite hard on videos to have the YouTube algorithm just suppress me. So please ring that friggin' bell. Please leave a comment, do the thumb, do whatever you can to help me fight against the algorithm, because we all have to fight against the evil, monster, robotic, metal mind of the YouTube algorithm. I hate it to pieces, and it hates me, and I need your help to defeat it. Please, I am literally begging you. Alrighty, so we're going to do an unboxing, and I know it's already been out in the wild for about a week or so. There's probably other unboxings out there, but I wanted to do an unboxing live specifically so I could give you my first impressions, the very first time it ever hits my hands. I'm going to want to tell you and get an honest reaction about how I'm feeling about that. And of course we have the selection of the, well, now previous gen, well, that's still current gen technically, isn't it, the Switch, but the previous gen controllers here for comparison's sake as well. So let's just get out the old knifey-doo and have a look at this thing. So as you can see, still sealed and everything. Haven't cheated. Oh, not really an Apple quality unboxing experience here. This feels pretty cheap and nasty kind of. Oh look, they haven't even bothered making the box properly. They've just made a, there's no special resting place, the bespoke little carve out for the controller or anything. It's just in a space in the middle of the box. Oh, you know what? Oh is my first impression. Oh, as soon as it hit my hand, it instantly feels a ton better than the PlayStation 4 controller. Much to my instincts, and in my original video, I was expecting to like this more than the DualShock 4, because obviously it's coming closer to this, which is my preferred controller when I'm playing on PC at least. I do quite like the Switch's Pro Controller as well. It's a kind of a push between these two as far as I'm concerned. But, ergonomically, I have enjoyed this for many, many years now, and I've worn out several controllers. I keep wearing out the thumbsticks because I use them so often and so aggressively. So yeah, for this to feel, it doesn't feel as good as this still. This slightly wider, I think. The angle of that is a little bit shallow, a little bit further out. Just sits in the hand a little bit better, but this is an immense improvement over this. I've always, the PlayStation controllers have always been last on my list of its comfort, ever since the original one. The PlayStation 2 one barely changed, PlayStation 3 was about the same, PlayStation 4 got a little bit better, but still not nearly as good as, what the Xbox became. But this, yeah, absolutely is a big improvement. Still a bigger fan of having the offset thumbsticks rather than the symmetrical thumbsticks. Just because of the way you tend to play games. This is your main action, and these are your action buttons, and then you change the camera by doing that. So this is where your thumbs sit usually in most actions, whereas this, you're asymmetrical by doing that. And the cameras are symmetrical. It feels better, in my opinion, with the asymmetrical, but, each to their own when it comes to that. Okay, the D-pad actually feels, I haven't actually looked this up, but is that directional? Because, yeah, this is just a thing. This feels like it's got a rocker in it. Might just be a trick of the thing, but whatever. So yeah, honest to goodness, first impressions are it feels pretty good. The D-pad feels pretty spongy, but then again, we're not using that as an action pad much these days, are we, for old-fashioned arcade games? It's just for, you know, selecting special abilities or toggling through your weapons and whatnot. But yeah, it fits really nicely to hand. I think it'll be comfortable for long sessions. The trigger buttons feel quite nicely spaced and everything. And these feel, yeah, they're a little bit firmer. Yeah, a little bit firmer, a little bit clickier, but not a loud click. It's just sort of a more tactile. Yeah, the Xbox is still more tactile, but they're not quite as spongy and awful as these are. I mean, they're not awful, but they're definitely much more spongy than these are, and certainly much more spongy than Nintendo's, which are very, very tactile. So yeah, still the spongiest of the buttons, but at least they're improved over that. And the thumbsticks, yeah, they feel about the same. Although I think they're a bit taller. They might be a bit taller, or this collar might be a bit higher, hard to tell, but yeah. Yeah, they're about the same, maybe a little bit taller than the Xbox. But you know, they feel very, very much like Sony thumbsticks because they've still got the same dome. Hopefully the rubber on these doesn't deteriorate as quickly as it tends to do on these, although the more recent models of this, it's got a bit better, but the original ones, the rubber on them just disintegrated within a year. It was awful. They got all sticky and gross and everything, so hopefully Sony learned a lesson on that. Right, let's go plug it in and have it a go, shall we? Okie dokie, here we are in Steam Big Picture Mode because it just makes it easy to show you the stuff. So we'll go to Controller Settings. We've got PlayStation configuration support. It's picked up at the moment in the beta as a PlayStation 4 controller. I've renamed it DualSense there just so I know what's going on. And the light bar color, none of that seems to work just yet. You've just got basic functionality. Alrighty, for our demo game, we have chosen Horizon Zero Dawn here, rather appropriately enough. I thought it was thematically appropriate because this, of course, did start out as a PlayStation exclusive and then got a port to PC. So, as you can see down the bottom corner of the screen there, we are showing the proper PlayStation inputs. We have X for select, so we'll hit that. Of course, if you were using a Xbox controller, that would have said A for select. So that's promising so far that Steam is bringing up the right button prompts. All right, finally, we're in the game. Let's go for a bit of a run. Okay, so, yep, everything feels fine. I'm working in wireless mode for this. I've hooked it up to my secondary gaming rig for this and done it in wireless mode so I can get a feel for if there's any lag or anything like that, and there's nothing. It's a really smooth wireless connection. I'm feeling good. All the controls feel good. Buttons fall nicely to hand. Yeah, I think... there we go. We've got a little button prompt there. The triangle prompt for the gather. So once more, we can see that the game is, and Steam is correctly reporting that we're using a PlayStation controller, so it should give us PlayStation prompts for any in-game overlays. I think most games these days fully support that. It's been, I usually use an Xbox controller when I'm PC gaming, but I feel like it's been a very long time since I've used a PlayStation controller in an Xbox game and had the wrong prompts come up. Of course, this is not an issue in Steam, but if you're using it with any other games, like I don't think the Epic, does the Epic launcher support PlayStation controller inputs? I don't know, I'll have to double check that. Someone will let me know in the down below area. But yeah, I would hope that by now we're in a stage in life where most games, particularly multi-platform games that come to PC, will have just both sets of button overlay inputs on them anyway, so whatever controller a PC player chooses to use, they can use quite smoothly without being confused by, oh, is that a triangle input or is that a Y input? Oh no! Wait, is it Y or, no, it's X, isn't it? Which way, I don't know. PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, just, can we just have a universal button layout, please? For us multi-platform gamers. Can we just all agree on one system, please? But yeah, long and the short of it, the triggers feel very much like a PlayStation 4 trigger in that their action, their size, how they feel to underfinger feels very similar. Again, I don't have the ability to do the fancy force feedback stuff yet. That's not supported in Steam. They are working on that. They're going to have that there, of course, but it's not there yet. Sorry, I'm stammering a bit. It's very late in the evening when I'm recording this. And when I get tired or when I get stressed, my stammer comes back a little bit. For those who don't know, I do have a bit of a stammer. Usually not a problem, because usually I record at times where I'm feeling fresh and whatnot. But if you ever come to one of my streams and I get a bit exasperated or flabbergasted, or it's a long stream or something, you'll hear the stammer come back. So yeah, for those of you with speech impediments, brofist, power through. Right, so initial impressions of quickly using it in a game. The latency feels fantastic. It's very, very responsive and reactive. The feel of the buttons, the feel of the sticks, the feel of the triggers all feel very sensible, very nice, very pleasant, very modern. Again, I still don't like that thumbsticks being down here and so close together, because when you go to the center, your thumbs can still smash against each other. That's one of the things I've hated most about the PlayStation controllers since they got analog sticks. You know, since Nintendo did the Nintendo 64 and go, hey, analog stick, they're useful. And Sony went, us too, analog sticks, 2 of them, ha ha ha. Well, it's one more than Nintendo, ha ha. But yeah, they put them down the bottom here and too close together, so your thumbs still mash against each other sometimes. Am I the only one who faces that problem? Or have we just given up complaining about it as a gaming culture because Sony doesn't seem to want to fix that issue? It's one of the reasons I like the Xbox asymmetrical sticks, because your thumbs never smash against each other. Anyway, by and large, very pleasant first impression of this. I'm going to continue to use this in my PC gaming for the next couple of weeks or so to give it a long soak-in test, at least until I can manage to get my hands on a PlayStation 5, and God knows how long that'll take right now. But all that aside, let's talk about one of the biggest criticisms I predicted about the controller, and that is the microphones. For the purposes of comparisons, this is the Elgato Wave 3. It's a microphone I've been testing for several months now, and I quite like it. Is it the best microphone ever? No, it's not the best microphone ever. Is it one of the most interesting bang for buck, performance for price and feature set? Has it been designed specifically for content creators? Yes, 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 yes. And I like it for all those things. Well done, Elgato. But we're going to be using it as a reference point here because, as it turns out, if you plug this into your PC with a USB cable at the moment, it doesn't seem to work wirelessly. I'm sure someone will figure that out sooner or later, but if you plug it in with the cable, it just gets picked up as a microphone by Windows kind of natively. So in my original video of this, I criticized the idea of having microphones on the controller. I praised it in that it's nice to have that as a default feature set, which means any developer wanting to use that microphone in a game or something can rely on every single PlayStation 5 owner having a microphone. That's a good thing. But then I pointed out that on the DS and 3DS line, there were built-in microphones on many of those as well, and most developers just use it to make you blow on your controller or yell at it to do stupid things in gimmicky, stupid games, and nothing ever serious or interesting was done with it, so who cares? But we also live in a day and age where online gaming, multiplayer gaming, is bigger than it ever has been, and voice chat is a very important thing in a lot of those games for coordinating with your teammates or just slagging off the opposition in the lobbies and such. But the problem with having a microphone on the controller itself is it's a controller. It's in your hands. You're going to pick up handling noise. There's a reason why we put these microphones on booms and you know, put them in suspension mounts, so they're isolated from any vibrations introduced by handling noise of the desk or the microphone itself, etc., etc., etc. But it's worse on these because it's not just like a handheld microphone, an interview-style microphone, which are specifically designed to isolate from handling noises a lot of the time. But it's worse with this because not only is it built into the thing you're holding, but it's built into a thing you're holding where the idea of the thing you're holding is you're constantly pressing buttons and mechanical switches and levers and stuff like that, and the built-in vibration motors and all that kind of stuff in the microphone itself. Now, I was also wrong in that original video. It does actually have a true microphone array because it's got the microphone on the front and there's another little hole on the back there. In fact, 2 holes. I'm not sure what are they both microphones? I don't think so. Probably only one of them is a microphone, but it does have a microphone array. So they are using that for some sort of sound isolation, maybe beamforming to a limited extent, things like that. And it will be the same kind of capsule that you find on camera microphones and things like that, which always, you know, they're serviceable for scratch noise and reference noise and things like that, but you won't want to use them in your actual videos for content because they don't sound particularly good. So, as an example, you are now listening to me through the microphone on the DualSense controller here, because it turns out on the PC at the moment, if you connect it via a cable, it just shows up as a microphone for Windows, which means I can use it in OBS. Does not work wirelessly yet. I'm sure sooner or later someone will figure that out. And of course, this is not what I'm going to sound like, and this is not what anyone else is going to sound like when they're talking on this thing, because nobody plays their games like this, holding the controller up to their face, so the microphone's nice and close. I mean, if you're just saying something to your teammates real quick, you're sitting in the lobby and go, oh yeah, we're going to drop in this area next, but you can bring it up and sound clearer. But most people are going to have their controller in their laps or whatnot, and they're going to sound like this because the microphone is by nature much further away, so it's going to sound worse. It's going to pick up a lot more room noise. And this is, of course, one of the main criticisms I brought up in my original video, in that if this is the default mic people are using, and a lot of games sort of turn open mics on by default, which is incredibly frustrating. Please stop doing that, developers. And, you know, all that sort of open mic noise you get from people wearing headsets even, is bad enough. But when it comes to a microphone of this quality, it's going to be intolerable. When you also mix with that the handling noise. I haven't started pressing any buttons yet, by the way. So let's start sort of pressing some buttons. Let's twiggle the thumbstick, and I'm pressing some of the face buttons here, and let's go for the triggers and give the touchpad a bit of a slap there. So I'm going to swipe on that. How about the D-pad? We're going to give the D-pad a little tap there, and give the thumbsticks a little bit of a click there. And I haven't actually listened to this back yet. I haven't done this test, so we're going to discover this together. And I'm going to start recording this, listen to this, and then I'm going to give you my reaction to how this sounds. Well, you know what? I'm actually relatively impressed by how this sounds at this kind of, you know, regular handheld microphone distance that I would use with a regular handheld mic. If I was holding a regular microphone, this is the kind of distance I would be using it at. Well, depending on the microphone and everything, but, you know, point being, it sounds actually quite surprisingly good. Very little room noise, very little echo being picked up. It sounds relatively rich. I mean, it's not broadcast quality, but it's a lot better than I assumed it would be. It is on par with a decent built-in in-camera microphone in my experiences. Again, not something I would use for voiceovers in videos, but better than I thought it would be. However, the instant I put it into a position where a controller would be when I'm using it, literally sitting in my lap, resting in my lap, that's where I use it. That's where most people hold their controllers. They don't hold them here when they're playing, do they? Do you? I don't. And it sounded okay-ish. It's clear enough for voice communication if you're just talking to someone in a game lobby for something, saying, you know, sorting out what you're planning to do next. Fine. It's enough. Hopefully there'll be some sort of gain control in PlayStation. They'll smartly sort of bring up the gain, because obviously it's further away from my head here, so it's picking up the sound softer. And the way I've got it set up in OBS, it's just a very basic microphone input, because I didn't want to put any filters on it or anything. But you will want to pop the level up so it can be heard properly. But the instant I started pressing buttons like I would in a proper game, and I'm not exaggerating here, I'm just pressing the buttons like I normally would in a game, and exactly the problem that I predicted, and exactly the problem that I sort of mocked up, because I strapped a microphone to a PlayStation 4 controller to sort of demo what I was talking about, and handling noise-wise, and this sounds pretty much exactly as bad and as distracting, as awful as I expected it to be, and as I demonstrated it to be. So everyone who gave me shit, everyone was going, oh, Blunty, remember when you said the controller was going to be crappy and the microphones were a dumb idea? Well, everyone loves the controller, so that aged like milk, that aged like milk, that aged like. I had so many comments saying that aged like milk. They must have got it to a forum or a Reddit post somewhere, because that's always what happens when you get copy paste kind of comments from multiple different people all pouring in at once. They're just parroting something that someone else has said on a forum or something. I deleted all those comments, by the way. Because, well, they're not very useful, are they? I did say in that video that I hoped I was wrong. I wanted to like this. Of course I wanted to like this. I want good things. I want the PlayStation controller for the PlayStation 5 to be good. And in many ways it is good. But when it comes to the onboard microphone, every criticism that I threw at it and every worry that I had at it still stands. I still am not looking forward to hearing gross amounts of handling noise by people who haven't realized they've left the microphone open in a lobby or in a game or whatnot when they're playing a game. It's going to sound awful. And if you get more than one person doing that at once, it's going to be a cacophony of ear abuse, basically. But as far as just using it as a quick mic to have a little quick non-in-game conversation, or you know, tell someone something important, if you're in a game that isn't sort of full of active input, yeah, it works pretty damn well. Okay, fine. But as a physical controller, I am pleased with how much more comfortable it is than the PlayStation 4's controller. I still think I prefer the Xbox style controller, not least of which is because the offset sticks. I just prefer that. But this is a big jump up from what I was dealing with on PlayStation. So when I am playing PlayStation exclusives or whatnot, or if I do, I'm going to continue to use this for my general PC gaming for a little while to sort of get a soak in of it and give it a better, longer term opinion on it as well. But first impressions are better than the PlayStation 4, but not as good as the standard Xbox controller sort of feel and size and layout and weight and balance and everything. But yeah, it's better, so that's a good thing. What do you guys reckon? Have you tried it yet? Hands up in chat who's tried it yet. Are you looking forward to trying it? Are you going to be using it on your PC? Do you use a PlayStation controller on your PC right now? Do you prefer that? Because I know, like I said, the sticks thing, it's a very personal thing. So yeah, down below, how many of you if you're using a controller on your PC for, third-person action games or something, because the mouse isn't always the best idea for that. Shooters still want to go for the mouse, but whatever. What controller do you use for your PC gaming? And are you interested in using this? And yeah, just don't use the microphone for chat, please. Just get a good headset. One of the EPOS ones I was talking about recently in that sponsored video. I'll link that to the down below. Cross promotion. Hey. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. I will catch you next time. And thank you as always to the glorious patrons up above there. Your support means a ton to me. Thank you for going above and beyond.